Hello everyone, this is Christian Interactive, and if you remember from the previous video, we have dealt with the left-hand side of our example, and in this video we are going to deal with the right-hand side. So in particular, we'll have converted the area which will contain all of the controls into 3 different columns, and then below that we will have an overview area where we'll show what it takes to create the actual form which contains all of the components above, or all the elements above, and any configuration that's required in the component itself. Alright, just to remind us, of course, this is the my test, and what we're aiming for is on the right hand side of our display here, the examples. We're expecting 3 columns, as I mentioned in the introduction, and left-hand column being the controls, middle the template that goes along with that control, and any configuration that had to happen is on the right within the component. And where we are right now is here. We've messed with the left-hand side, this form data area. Now we're again messing with the right-hand side. Now, of course, I know it'll be surprising to everybody here, but we're going to start off this video with a small correction from the previous, and that's inside the basic example component.scss. Actually, if we look at the template, so in the SCSS at the very bottom here, I'm saying the dot controls, so the element with the control CSS class is the controls area for our grid, which would be the right hand side. I actually intended for that to be the class that was, or the element that contained everything on the right hand side, which is this controls template component. So let's go ahead, grab this, change this controls to that, and while we're messing with this thing, we're also going to just say overflow auto, and we're good to go for the moment there. So now what we want is to show, like I said in the example here, we have for each control a template and component, so that's what we need to create. And we're going to do that by first going to the right thing. And we're going to start off in the basic example component.ts class. And alright, so we're good to go here. So let's stub out a couple of methods. One would be private t get, calling the thing snippets. So snippet component, and we're going to pass in a key, which is a string, to tell us which one that we want. For right now, we're just going to return a template string component, and the key that we pass in, let's just create another one, save us a little bit of time. Instead of component, this one will be template, and let's just template. And we're good to go with the stubbing there. Next thing we're going to do is to add this to our pug file, or the basic examples template. So again, we're on the right hand side of things, and what I want, so I have the controls, all that's good to go. So, but we're going to come down here, and inside of there we're going to say, I wonder if that's going to work out in the long run, but let us yeah, we'll do it anyway. So div dot, we're going to create a new control div. We'll move our control over there. We'll make another one which is template, and then we'll put a label in here which is template, and then we want a code. I think I don't think this is the first time we've had this. I think, no, I've mentioned it before. I don't know. Well, we want the CSS class, languages we're going to use later on to do some syntax highlighting. But now we're able to get our snippet and template. We need to pass in which one, input. There we go. Now we need div component, label component, code dot language, and the component is TypeScript. and do a little interpolation. The snippet and component in this case, again, input. So we're good to go. Let's take a look. All things going. Make it a little bigger here. So we have the template component, template input, all that's working. So we can close the component for now anyway, and we'll return. No, actually we'll do a little. Let's do a little styling. So basic example.component.scss file. So we have that controls. So inside the controls, we're going to display grid again, and grid template columns. That's going to be auto one fraction. So we'll make the column to the left, which contains the controls. We're going to give it an actual width, and then we want the rest of the space to be equally divided. Grid template areas. We're going to call it control, template, and component. Grid column gap. We'll use our gutter we defined earlier. So now we'll do dot control. So left-hand column, it will have a grid area of control, and then a width of 18.75 EM. So that's good, and save us just a little bit of time here. All we need to do is set the area for the component and the template. Save it, take a look, everything's back or up where it belongs. So we're good for a moment on that. And the next thing that we want to do, so right now we're just sending in these temporary strings, so we want to actually send in the information that we want. And to do that, we're going to start by adding another new class to our project here. So I'm going to right click on the forms folder, add new item, text. We're going to call this thing snippets-manager.ts. So as the name implies, it's going to contain or help us deal with the snippets. We'll first start defining a type. So we have a type called snippet, which may or may not have a component, which is a string, and which will have a template, which is also a string. So we'll export the class snippets manager, and so we'll have a private read only, and we'll call that snippets. It's going to be a map, and that map's going to be string and snippet. And we're good to go. Start off equal to null. We'll use the constructor. So up here, we'll take in snippets. The snippets that we're going to take in will be an array. It's going to be an array of arrays. The contained arrays will just have two elements within them. First a string, and the next one a snippet. And that's good to go. So now we can just say this.snippets equals new map snippets. Perfect. Now we want to get some information from them, so we'll say public get component, and that equals, well, first we'll pass in a key. So then we'll return this.snippets and get key.component, remembering this may or may not exist. So we'll have a default here, and we'll just say, at least for now, maybe we'll come with something better to say, but none required is what we're doing now. And public get template, same deal, key, string, return snippets.get key.template, and of course that exists. So squiggly line go away, good to go. Of course, to make everything easier, we're going to go back to our forms.index.ts file, and we're just going to import the snippets manager into there. So let's just put it there. Perfect. Now we can go back to our basic component.ts class, and we can say snippets manager up here in our forms index imports. Since we can do that, let's go ahead and define some snippets. So we'll say private we'll just read only underscore snippets, and that equals new Snippets Manager. So like I said, it's going to expect an array. Formatting. And then that array should contain little 2-element arrays. First thing in here, we're going to call it input. That's the name that we gave to that input that we have in our template. And we need an object. That object has to contain a template property. That template property, so if we look in the basic example component, the template is going to be exactly this thing. So let's put single quotes, put that in there. Perfect. So now we can update our get snippets down here, and then this will be this dot snippets dot get, in this case component, passing in the key, and this one would be this dot snippets dot get component, not if you want it to work right, template and key. Save that. Look at our browser. So now we have the template and the none required for our component. Help if I would stop clicking on the right one. All right, so now if we look at the example, just to know what we're doing here, again at the bottom here we have an area that shows the overall template for the form, and like I said, overall how to construct the component that contains all the configuration information. So we need to create that. And to do that, we'll come back here and do our little stubbing in again. So we'll do private get t component, just a getter. So this thing here, since I don't want to miss something, we're going to copy that in. Fairly meta. So what's going on here is basically this is me having copied the basic example, put it in here, minus anything that had to do with snippets, and there's nothing to do with the actual form that we're creating, just us displaying it. And we have this little section right here to be added, so we'll add more to it. And so that does the component. We need one for get t template. Let us do the same thing again. Copy this in. So just the container for the group, form group, and then to be added. Go ahead and save those. Jumping back to our basic example.component, we're ready to add to this thing here. I want to make sure I get this in the right spot again so it's at the same level as the controls div, which is right there. And we'll put it in HR div.template-component label template and pre-code.language-pug string interpolation on our t template. So we're good to go on the template. Did I forget something? I did. I want to have a div called with a class on it of template. So now we need to move these in one. So we'll come div.component. Same deal, label, component, pre-code.language. What's language put? I'll fix that here. So type, oh my god, TypeScript, T component, perfect. Fix that to be pug. Save that. Take a look, and you can see that we have now our template and component. And if you think that we're going to do some styling next, you would be right. So let's do that. Basic example.component.scss. Scroll down to the bottom, and we'll do the same deals here. So we have the .template-component div containing everything, display grid template columns, and we just want them evenly spaced left to right, one fraction, grid template areas, one called template and the other one component, and the next one grid column gap. Okay, next thing, whoop, grid column gap gutter. Basically, I was contemplating there, and like I said, I'm still getting used to the display grid, CSS grid. Of course, I've named things the same when we're working okay. I guess some kind of scoping going on. So let's just add the name grid areas to our component and our template. Save that, take a look. So now our template and component are on the same line, half and half on the screen. So we're good to go there. All right, so now what we want to do is to turn to our snippets manager to help us to have the information here. This information is already contained within it. It's these, right? We will just add them below here, and any component stuff we'll, figure out exactly how we're going to do that. I'm not completely sure, but hey, we'll cross that bridge when we need to. So now we will go back to the snippets manager, and what we want is what we're going to do is use RxJS to help us with this problem. So I'm just going to do a whole bunch of imports at the top here. You obviously can take a look and see what I've imported. Of course, I have the construction methods up here and then the operators that we're going to need. And let's go down here and define a couple of things. So we'll call public snippets to component. So I'll talk about this in a second. So when I originally did this, I did it in a different way, and I needed to indent the component versus the templates, different amount. So in this, right now as it is, I do not need to do that. So what we're going to do is just retain this information, the ability to do that though, within this. And inside here, we're just going to return, and we're going to return some call to a method that we have not defined yet. It's going to take the indent, and it's going to take a function which takes it's going to be passed in a snippet, and it's going to return the component. We do the same thing, snippets to template, exact same signature. They'll default with an indentation of 1. It's going to return this dot snippets to code, again indent and snippet. This time, of course, returning s.templates. Perfect. Let's deal with our little red things here. And I guess for the moment, what we'll do is just say private snippets to code, indent, and takes in the number, again, a function. That function takes in that snippet we were talking about, and should return us a string. So right now, to make this work, I'm just going to say return, and what am I going to return? Well, this dot snippets. I know that one exists, which has a key of indent, and so now I have a snippet. Boy, that's what I get for jumping off things here. Actually, let's just do this. Empty string. Great. The reason we're doing that is then so I can go back and just update the basic example real quick to have the right thing. So basic example.component.ts file. Come back in here. We're going to remove that and do the template variable here. And that's this .snippets to component. We'll have a 0 indentation. Important though to note that it's on the margin there, so it's on the left hand side. There's no space between it. Can't erase all that. So put in our template variable here, this snippets to template. Save that. Look, we've got nothing contained below here. Empty string, I guess, contained below there. So let's return back to our snippets manager here. All right, so now what we want is to figure out what I was doing earlier. Okay, so we'll say let res, so this is the response. It's going to be a string, and what we're going to do then, So we have the snippets contained within here, so we're going to create an observable from that. So we'll say from this snippets, and let's just do observable, yes, .subscribe. I wasn't helping me, I guess. So just to see, actually I guess we really don't need to do it, right? IntelliSense will tell us that X is a snippet in this case, right? So we save that, take a look at the browser. Of course, change the text is doing all this, but we're getting, you know, outputs of an array of two elements, the string and the snippet. All right, so now that we have that, what we want to do is to get the, you know, the corresponding string. So whether it's a component or whether it's the template that we're dealing with, we want to get that out of there. So we're going to come down here and do pipe. I'm going to struggle with the formatting of this thing the entire time, and it's going to make me very mad, but I haven't figured out what's messing with the formatting yet. So we'll use map. All right, so map is giving us the X is that little two-element array that we have, and I'm going to say at the moment, since we want the string out of it, we have this function which is being passed in, which is the f. So we take f, invoke it on, again, we want the snippet out of this thing, so that's x element 1. So then that gives us the string, right? So we have a string here. If we want to, let's just go ahead and fix this. So we'll just say that the result is equal to x, and we return result. So we save that. So you can see that we have two things going on: the input, template, and we have the undefined, because obviously there's nothing defined for the component side of things. If we want, let's do a simple one real quick, and filter. Ooh, filter. What are we going to do with you, filter? We'll just say x and type of x not equal to undefined, and x not equal to null. We'll be using the null later on. And so what we'll have here is it complaining about it. Although IntelliSense tells me it's a string, then it comes over here and complains that it's not it's an object. So fine, we will just tell you that it is in fact a string. Save it, still there, and still undefined. Why are you still undefined? Oh. And filter x type of x not equal to undefined. I guess in the end I'm not really doing anything later on. What I need to do, probably a little jump the gun here on that, and what we're going to do, so we have x coming out of there. Let's just see, I'm still not sure why. Not equal to, type of x not equal to undefined. Let's see if it fixes it afterwards. What we're going to want to do now, so we're getting, in principle, we have a bunch of x's, and what we're going to want to do, so we want to combine all of these into one string at the end. So we're going to use the reduce, and we'll have an accumulator and an x, and inside of here a template string will tell it that we start with an empty string. So what we'll do is use a template variable. We'll put the accumulator in there, starts off with an empty string, then we'll put the x in, whatever it is, and then a new line, right? So we want these to be back in new line. All right, and so curious, let's go back here. All right, interesting. So we have no undefined again. We still have our input going on. And of course, so I should have mentioned before, right? It's just in our case, this snippet, both the template and the component is a single. I mean, we don't have anything in the component, but it's a single line, right? in principle, it would be multiple lines, right? And so we want to, we'll do a little, we'll you know, split those multiple lines up. We'll indent each line over, then we're recombining them back into a single string, and I put the new line back on the end of it. All right, so we have that, except we're not doing any of the indenting of it at all, and that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to have a function down here. I probably could just put this all in a line, and the reason I have a function here is because when I originally did this, I did this, as most probably would do, is imperatively, for loops and such. Then I got to the thing, I should start to work with Rx, so let's start doing that. And so I have this indent function, takes in the indent, will be passed, and it'll be passed a string. At the moment, let's just return string. So in that case, what we come back up here in our map, we'll just say this.indent. So we'll wrap our function call in the indent and pass in the right amount of stuff, and it'll stop giving us a squiggly. So we give it the indent value and the string. Save it, and we should have absolutely no difference, right? I guess this is probably why I had the indent or the undefined go away previously. I don't know. But inside of the indent, we'll say if type of string equals undefined or string equals null, then we'll just return null. All right, scroll down a little bit. So now I need to know how much I'm supposed to, or how much space I'm supposed to put, or tab, and I thought tab to begin with. But I'm going to start the debate between space and tab. So what we're going to do then is use range, and to create an observable, we'll go from 0 to indent. So now we have integers. We're going to do, of course, pipe. I'm just going to format it all later on before it kills me. So we're going to do take while. So this, we're basically creating the for loop, take while x less than indent. So now we're going to do again, we're going to put a comma in here, and now we're going to do reduce. Again, accumulator x, and we're going to do once again template string. Start off with an empty string, double colons, empty string, and all I'm going to do then is put the accumulator and 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and actually I'm going to change this x to an underscore because I really do not care what it is. Let's move this stuff over, that stuff back, move that so it looks a little bit better. So you would think that it would understand that since I'm putting in this empty string to start with, that accumulator is a string, but it's complaining because it doesn't know. So we're just going to put string on there, and we're going to put number on here, and let it be happy. So we're good to go there. Stop moving my stuff around. Subscribe. Then it doesn't even give me any IntelliSense to help me. We're going to avoid that same issue here. So we get a string from it, and we'll just say space is equal to x, semicolon. Probably there's a way to do this all in one. I have not yet devised that way. Like I said, still learning. But so we've gotten the spaces. We need to apply these spaces to our string. So we'll do the same thing. Res is a string. We're going to create an observable of the string that gets passed in. So it'll emit just one value, which is that string. Pipe should have parentheses, not curly braces. So now we have the one value, that string. We don't care about anything else now, so we can use the merge map, and we're going to pass in a string to merge map, and from that we're going to create a new observable using from, and we're going to just take the string and split it. We will split it on new line characters that are coming into it. And I have put the string, if you don't put the type on this x for whatever reason, although it knows it's a string, when I get over here it won't let me use split, so now we're doing that. So we've done that. Stop beeping at me. Now once again, of course, our friend the reduce, and same deal, accumulator, which is a string, and X, which is also a string. Get our template string, empty string to begin with. So we'll move over here. We'll take the accumulator, again, empty to start with. Then we'll put in our space. Then put in the X, so you forgot to do that in one go around of this. And the new line character at the end there. And I just we'll skip to it here. Forgot to subscribe up there. Let's go ahead and put res down here. So it's the response. I'm going to strip the new line from the very end of the string because I don't want an empty space after it. Come down here, we'll do subscribe. Same deal, res equals X. Stop putting semicolons inside of there. And you don't need to have the type there. Quick look through things. I think everything will work. And all right, so we have this thing being indented. We have a new line here, but I don't really care all that much about it. So we have it being formatted correctly, and if we want, we can go back in and test it. If we go back to the basic example component .ts file, and the only thing that has anything in it is the template. So we go down to the T template here. Let's say we put in, so it defaults to 1. Let's put a 2. Go back and we'll see that we've indented twice. You know, magic should have happened so we could see it. So let's do 3, and it moves it and back to 1 where we want. And so now we are good to go there. And I think, depending on what else we're going to get done on it, you can see in the test here that we do have some syntax highlighting going on. So if nothing else, we'll at least get that taken care of in the next video. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.